That's neat and all, but what if we wanted a little bit more sophisticated coloring job? Something with some texture and variation. Let's hide our sky and rooftop coloring jobs for now, as wonderful as they were. Okay, textures are something we can get almost anywhere. The internet, the world around us captured with a digital camera, even our own art projects scanned and digitized. I happen to keep archives of interesting textures and directories on my computer, so for simplicity's sake, we'll just grab something from there. Especially for sky textures, I like watercolor washes, so let's open a watercolor file. Now, obviously we won't need the whole thing, so we'll just come up and use the marquee tool to select a rectangular section of the painting. And Control, click and drag it over to our line art project. We'll rename this layer Sky Texture. Now we can focus back on our project. Basically, we'll want this watercolor texture to be large enough to fill the sky's area. So let's use the Free Transform tool. Edit, Free Transform, or Control T. After finding the right size for our texture, we'll click Enter to confirm our selection. Now it's just a matter of masking the sky texture layer. Fortunately, we've already created this mask, so we don't need to go to all the work again. Instead, we can just hold Ctrl-Alt and drag the mask from Sky Fill up to Sky Texture. And Photoshop will copy the mask from one layer to another. Now, while this is a perfect fit, it's a bit drab, so let's add a splash of color to it. First, we'll Control-click on our new layer mask. Now we'll create another adjustment layer, this time selecting Hue and Saturation. Now if we click Colorize, this will allow us to broadly change the coloring of our sky texture. I'm going to go for a little bit of a more yellowish sky. A lazy mid-morning or late afternoon, perhaps. And you can drag hue to change the color, saturation to change how much color is used, and lightness to make it darker or lighter. Okay. Now I will rename this layer Sky Hue. And remember that as this is an adjustment layer, you can always double click and re-edit it if you like. I'm going to cancel because I was happy with my yellow sky. Still, all yellow is just a little bit bland, so let's create a new layer and we'll drag the mask from Sky Hue, Control-Alt, we'll copy it up to our new layer, Layer 1, and we'll call this Sky Grade. And what we're going to do here is click on your gradient tool. That's right there. Sometimes it's also the paint bucket. If you see a paint bucket, just click and hold and then click on gradient. And let's come up to our gradient options. I'm going to choose the one that's foreground to transparent. That will take your foreground color and blend it into transparent color. Now we can just click and drag and add a little bit of color. Now that's interesting as well, but we probably don't want just a solid red down there. So let's come up and try some different blend tools. Usually what I'll do is I'll just click on darken and use my arrow keys to scroll through the different blending modes to find something I like. A lot of these are a little bit too hyper. So let's overlay was kind of nice. It added just a slight bit of texture and change there. I'm going to stick with that. Then I will make another layer. Control Alt and mask it again. I'll pick out a brush. Go to my brush options. I'll make it a nice big brush. And set the hardness to about 40. Okay, and I've got my red color. I want to make sure that we're working on the layer art and not on the layer thumbnail. And I'll just use this to paint in a little red, give it more of a setting sun sort of feel. And again, we can try different blending modes here and see what works. Color burn is probably too bright. Linear burn's a little dark, but we may end up going with linear burn. Overlay, again, actually adds some more red, so let's try that. It's kind of an interesting look for our sky. And we'll call this sky overlay.